Hello everyone, welcome to Edukemy. This is the video in your geography optional and today we would be dealing with a question from the perspectives in human geography. This is a very famous topic, generally the most dreaded topic among the students. So let's start with the question of the day. The question of the day is the three dominant paradigm in the post-war human geography. The three dominant paradigm in the post-war human geography has been logical positivism, humanism, and historical materialism. So there are three main paradigms post-war, that is after World War II. The three main dominant paradigms are the logical positivism, that is the QR, the quantitative revolution, and the logical positivism, followed by humanism and also your historical materialism. Historical materialism deals with radical approach. As we know, the perspectives in human geography deals with how geography has evolved over the subject. And what are the various paradigms? One of the various famous Kuhn's paradigm says that geography has been from a no paradigm, has seen no paradigms, to dual paradigms, to multiple paradigms, and to being the single paradigm. So now we have been living for a longer time in the phase of single paradigm where geography has dealt with one paradigm, but now geography again is encompassing all of the thoughts. So now the question says that post World War there were three paradigms that were dominating, that is the logical positivism, humanism, and your historical materialism, that is the radical geography. So we have to touch upon the later part of your perspectives in geography. So let's see how do we answer this question. So the dominant themes of discussion in the pre-war geography. We know in the pre-war geography it was mostly related to determinism as well as possibilism. So in the pre-war there was determinism versus possibilism, and in the post-war there has been humanism, radicalism, and logical positivism, that is your QR. So this is what we have seen so far. However, post-war geography has essentially become human-centric and there is dominance of three main. So this addresses the demand of the question that pre-war it was the determinism versus possibilism, and in the post-war there is logical positivism, that is quantitative behavioralism, quantitative revolution, behavioralism, that is your logical positivism. Why is behavioralism put into the logical positivism? We will see that. So it has been dominated by logical positivism, humanism, and your historical materialism. Historical materialism is about the radical as well as Marxist geography. So this introduction fairly suffice the context that pre-war this was there and post-war this is what you can see. Now you will see the Kuhn's paradigm. The Kuhn's paradigm, this is a very famous paradigm, that is Kuhn's paradigm, which says that how geography has evolved into various paradigms. How geography has been in the various paradigms. So here the diagram is about the Kuhn's paradigm, the three dominant paradigms according to the Kuhn's paradigm, right? So the first one is about this is about the crisis period. This is about the crisis. This is about the crisis after the World War. There has been what? There has been a QR phase followed by behavioral geography, followed by another crisis, that is radical. So QR, behavioral, and radical. This is what Kuhn has been saying, that there are three dominant. There is your QR phase, logical positivism, behavioral phase. There you have your radicalism and you have your humanism also. So these are the dominant paradigms that you can write. Now you have to, what is the directive word? The directive word was explain. You have to explain each of them. That the post-war war there was these three. So you'll have to explain. You will have to explain logical positivism. You will have to explain humanism. You'll have to explain historical materialism. Not only will you explain them, but you have to write the name of the various contributors to these paradigms. Who have been the contributors to logical positivism, humanism, and your behavioral geography as well as radical geography. So, the rise of logical positivism. The rise of logical positivism, that is your QR and the behavioral geography. So, you'll have to explain. Post-World War, there is development of geography was largely contributed by American school. The American school and Schaeffer and American school, they largely contributed to your post-World War geography. And we know the Hartshorne-Schaeffer debate. The Schaeffer wanted to make geography as a logical science. It wanted to make geography as a logical science. He wanted to make geography as a science of spatial analysis, wanted to make laws, wanted to go for spatial analysis. So there was American and the Schaeffer who wanted to make geography as a logical science and the science of the spatial analysis. And this QR, which was inspired, QR, quantitative revolution, which was inspired by economics, says that it wanted to simplify human aspects. So human aspects should be simplified. Okay, man is considered as a dot on the space. Man is rational economic man, right? Man has no preferences. Man doesn't have prejudices. So they wanted to simplify the human aspect for more objective and generalization. So objective assessment and generalization, lawmaking is possible only when you simplify the human aspects. We've also seen in the central place theory, in the other theories, we try to assume that, so we are making a model, we try to assume that man is a rational economic man. So in the QR phase, man and the human aspects were simplified. There was logical positivism. Okay, so this was the dominant phase and we have tried to explain it. What were the positives of it? What were the negatives of it? As you can see it from here. So the QR and the logical paradigm and the QR and the logical positivism paradigm said that man was reduced to a mechanical machine, mechanical being. Okay, the geography was obsessed with laws and not with man-environment relation. They were not obsessed with man-environment relation. They were obsessed with laws. They were obsessed with man as a mechanical being. Then this is the negative aspect of the QR. There is some positive aspect also of QR. The positive aspect is there was some laws, there was interdisciplinary nature, geography became a bit scientific. So yes, certain laws were made, geography became scientific and it became an interdisciplinary discipline. So there is some positive and there is some negative to the phase of QR. Then with the QR, before you move on to humanism, from QR to humanism, there is behavioralism. This behavioralism had problems with some of the assumptions in QR. The behavioralism geography also said to make laws. They also wanted to make laws, but they had an issue with the assumption of rational economic man. So you'll have to explain that. The contributors, okay, so you'll have to explain that. To bring the focus back on man, the behavioral geography came up with man as a thinking rational man. So man is a thinking and a rational being and man is not simply a mechanical being. Okay, man is a thinking being, man is a rational being but a thinking being also. And who operates on what? Who operates on a perceived environment. He doesn't operate on an objective environment but on the perceived environment, and hence the role of culture, emotions, preferences becomes important. Man is a rational man, but man is also a thinking rational man. Therefore, man has preferences, man has prejudices, man has choice, man has emotion. This is also within QR only. However, it is an offshoot of the QR and it is within the positivist approach that try to catch the man's cognition. Study man's cognition. And how do you study? You study it via behavioral matrices and the mental map. So behavioralism is an offshoot of the QR. It's a mold within the QR. But man is a thinking rational being. So make laws for the cognition. How do you map the cognition? Either through the mental map or through the behavioral matrix. Then it was followed by the role of humanistic school. We know humanistic school, plays lot of emphasis on the culture, plays lot of emphasis on the thinking of the man, and it was against lawmaking. It was against generalization. So there was a rise of the humanistic school, which was a rejection of the QR and the positivism. So humanistic approach, this was against generalization. It was against generalization, it was against lawmaking and analytical approach. They did not want to make analysis, they did not want to make laws. They were against generalization and believes that all that man is thinking, that has to be the reason. So all that happens, the causal factors are in man's thinking, are in man's minds, are in man's perception. So the causal factor are all in man's thinking and perception. The geography should appreciate what? The diversity in the man-environment relation. So again, the focus came back onto the man-environment relation and it moved away from the model making. So complete opposite of QR, do not make laws, do not make generalization, study man and environment. Man is a thinking being, man has perception, you need to study those perception and do not make any models. This is what is about your humanistic geography. 2-3 important names you should always remember when there is a humanistic geography question. It's about Fu Tuan, phenomenology, idealism, that you should remember. So idealism, this is about your Harris and Guelke. Remember the name and the philosophy. So idealism is the philosophy and it is given by Harris and Guelke. What are they trying to study? They are trying to study an idealism. They are trying to study an idea. So what are we trying to study? We are trying to study an idea in the mind of the man. So we are trying to study the reality, the idea in the mind. What does the mind perceives? That is, what is the idea in the mind? You study in the idealism, which is given by Guelke. Then, this is the phenomenology. You are not studying an idea, you are studying a phenomena. You are trying to study a phenomena. This is given by Ralph and Fu Tuan. Ralph and Fu Tuan gave this. It acknowledged that all the experience, they proceed from the world. So all the experience, they proceed from the world. So the phenomena has proceeded from the world and that has given me an experience. So this is a phenomena which has given me an experience, that is phenomenology. This is about the humanistic geography. The third is about the existentialism. You study the existence of a man. So in human geography, humanistic geography, they're studying the brain. When they're studying the mind, so what are they studying? Sometimes they study the idea, sometimes they study the phenomena, and sometimes they study the very existence. Why do the person exist? So human geography, they became the history of man's encounter with himself and what he believed in his existence. Now, coming on to from humanism, we moved on to radicalism. Okay, so the radical geography. So the growth of historical materialism or the Marxist geography and the radical geography was a follow-up. What happened is, post-humanistic geography, there was a lot of focus on the man's mind. So there were few thinkers who said that when we are studying man's mind, we are getting away from the problems that society has. So we need to study the problems of society. Geography need to solve the problems of society. That was what radical geography would say. So when you need to solve the problems of society, you need to study the structure of the society. So that is the genesis of the radical revolution. So there was growth of historical materialism. Historical materialism is linked to Marxist geography. So there was growth of historical materialism and the radical revolution. This radical revolution was inspired by the social and political conditions of 1960s. There was Vietnam War, there was racism, poverty, all this the society was facing. And they wanted to make geography as a discipline who can solve these problems of poverty, racism and the other wars. So like Vietnam War, what is the solution to Vietnam War? That is what geography has to come. So historical materialism, that is the Marxist geography, has two dimensions. One is the welfare geography and the other is the radical geography. So when we say welfare geography, Welfare geography is a bit of conservative approach. It is aiming at what? It is aiming at the welfare. There is a very famous quote by D.M. Smith, who gets what, where and how. Remember this for your welfare geography always. Who gets what, where and how. So this is about, the welfare geography is about D.M. Smith. It's an objective of the geography to discuss who gets what, where and how. Whereas the radical geography, that was by Folk, Pal, David Harvey, they wanted a revolutionary movement. They said that according to revolutionary theory, so they said that according to whom the revolutionary theory without the revolutionary practice is useless. Don't give me a revolutionary theory of who gets what, where and how. I need a revolutionary thing in practice also. So this actually gave to the Marxist and the radical. That is why the radical term is associated with them. They wanted to overthrow the capitalist. They wanted to overthrow the capitalist, and they could do either through by regulating, that is giving them a preventive checks and balances, or they could implement it by factoring on what is the factor that has led to inequalities. So you need to, what is really happening, focus on the inequalities other than the factor of production also. So you need to focus on the inequalities, not only with the factor of production, not only overthrow the capitalists, but also the inequalities in the culture, in the society. So we have come to conclusion that yes, post-World War, there was QR, logical positivism, which included QR and behavioralism. There was humanism, which was a counter of QR and the logical positivism. Then there was radical geography, that mentioned about radical as well as welfare geography, which is a part of historical materialism, which aims at reducing inequalities, but welfare opts for the welfare approaches, whereas radical opt for the revolutionary approaches. Now, what is the current paradigm? The current paradigm in geography essentially has moved to post-modernism. We are now presently in the post-modernism, which is polyphonic. Okay, there is not one paradigm. It is polyphonic, that is, there is number of harmonious perspective. That what makes geography today. So this is in the post-modernism. We have feminist geography, we have post-colonial geography, we have post-structural geography. So presently it is polyphonic, which makes it harmonious. Presently we have again we are emphasizing on culture, again we are emphasizing on man and environment relation. So it is the post-modern age, the post-modern phase, wherein there is emphasis on the culture. This is polyphonic. There is feminist geography, post-structural geography, post-colonial geography. So this is what is the present day geography. Geographical perspectives gives you an edge and understanding of how geography has evolved. It's a very interesting topic and definitely scoring if you have the grip over the content. So keep on reading the books for your perspectives. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.